And we are live.
Hey, we're live. It's a Feel Good Friday. Smith, my producer in the background there, still hasn't spent the money on a camera on himself, so it's just me. How you doing? I'm Paul Sullivan. Billy W. Merritt presents Feel Good Friday every Friday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, and of course the other time zones. Well, you figure it out. I'm not good at math. So Smith, how you doing this Feel Good Friday morning?
I'm doing well. A little sleepy as usual, I guess, but
it's so funny how you flip the switch. I mean, I do the same thing. It's like when you're on camera, it's like when I was on the radio for years. As soon as you turn the microphone on, you got to be happy go lucky. You got to be, everything's good. I came in this morning, and Smith was like, yeah, I'm really tired. I'm kind of draggy. And now asking, now he's like, pretty good. Microphone's on, pretty good. He did say he was a little sleepy though. So
yeah, as soon as we start recording, anytime I'm recording with Keegan, I instantly try to start throwing out memes, smile constantly. It's just habit at this point.
Well, we're actually early. I mean, I couldn't believe it. We actually started a little bit early today, so like 2 minutes. But hey, that's big for us. I mean, actually be ready and prepared and 2 minutes early. So a couple people probably just barely logging on. There's my mom, of course. Good morning, mom. By the way, we'll just get into this really fast. You see, I'm wearing the Cubs stuff. My Cubs lost 17-4 yesterday, so. They've traded all their good players. They got a bunch of rookies or minor league guys they pulled up and brought up and all kinds of stuff. So, man, wow, it's getting bad. It's getting really, really bad. They let go of Jake Arrieta yesterday. It was time for him to go. He was part of the 2016 World Series team, but he's definitely on the back end. I think he's 36 now, something like that. So he was definitely on the back end of his career anyway. So they let him go, and a couple guys are on the injured list now. So it's like, I don't even know who's playing. I mean, some of these guys I've never even heard of because, again, they're bringing them up from the minors. But you see, I'm still wearing proudly. I've got my Wrigley Field shirt on today, so I can still go, I love Wrigley Field, where the Cubs play.
You haven't started chanting, not my team.
No. You'll never hear that from me. I will bitch and moan and complain, but I will never say not my team. The Cubs will always be my team. But something that was really cool, we talked a little bit about it last week, the Field of Dreams game, the movie Field of Dreams. They actually played a real Major League Baseball game yesterday in Iowa at the Field of Dreams, where they filmed the movie Field of Dreams on the field. Really cool. Did you watch any of it? I mean, I know you're not a baseball fan, but did you watch any of it?
I saw a little preview on the news. I did not actually watch it.
It was. I don't know what it is about it. I mean, some people were kind of making fun of it, and they're like, they made a movie. I mean, what's the deal? I mean, there's, they've made movies about a lot of places and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. It's just cool to me. I mean, I love the movie Field of Dreams. It's one of my all-time favorites. And so they actually had Kevin Costner, who was the star of the movie Field of Dreams. They actually had him like he did in the movie, or like they did in the movie, but he actually came out of the cornfield this time around, so last night was like this big production. It's pretty cool. I mean, like I said, it was pretty neat. The White Sox, Chicago, the other team in Chicago that I'm not a fan of, but the Chicago White Sox and the New York Yankees. So again, not a fan of either team, but the whole concept I thought was just so cool. And in great fashion too. The White Sox actually won it on a walk-off home run in the ninth inning. So a very cool ending. They had fireworks going off, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I can't imagine, it'd be like, imagine, a Major League Baseball team coming, to a small town, like, coming here, we're in Douglas, Georgia, coming to Douglas, Georgia and playing a Major League Baseball game. It would just be too cool. So, I mean, I thought the concept was brilliant. And so, kudos to whoever came up with this. I'm sure a lot of people made money off of it, but it's just a really cool thing. I thought the people that live in Iowa in that area, it's kind of neat, where they made the movie anyway, but then to have an actual, a real Major League Baseball game, because that was the thing. Like it wasn't, it wasn't a preseason game. It wasn't, one of the charity games or anything like that. This was an actual game that counted. It was a real Major League Baseball game. So pretty cool. And again, I'm not a White Sox fan, but congratulations to the White Sox winning that in fine fashion with the walk-off home run. So, all right. So it's what's today? That's right. What's today?
It's the 13th.
Friday.
Oh, it is
the 13th.
I didn't even think about that.
Friday the 13th. So a lot of people are very superstitious and kind of get a little freaky about Friday the 13th. Do you have any superstitions, Smith?
About Friday the 13th?
Yeah.
I don't think so, no.
Would you have any superstitions in general?
Yeah, I've seen some pretty freaky stuff when I was a kid. I don't know how far I really want to get into that. Just to be totally honest with you.
So he just had some freaky stuff when he was a kid. So, hey, he was a freaky kid. He's a freaky adult. So there you go. That's Smith in a nutshell. Well, a lot of superstitions, that come along with Friday the 13th or horror films, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of superstitions, the don't let the black cat cross in front of you, like in your path. And what's another one? Cliches. Help me out here. I know my mom has like 15 of these that, she still lives by. I think, one, I remember when I was a kid, one of them was, don't rock a rocking chair with no one in it. That was like supposed to be bad luck or something. It was just weird, bizarre.
Manifest a ghost.
yeah. It was just weird. Another one, like, when you're a kid, you'd lay down on the floor a lot of times, you kind of sit like this and you'd be laying down watching television, like on your stomach. Right. And so it was like supposed to be bad luck. You were not supposed to walk over someone. If they were laying on the floor, you weren't supposed to step over them. Like she would make us, if you tried to do it, like if I tried to step over my sister, she'd make you turn back around and go back. It's just kind of foolish and silly to me, but hey, whatever works. There's a lot of different superstitions, but some of the other ones, some of the other superstitions,
like something about not looking into a broken mirror.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
not stepping on cracks in the
sidewalk. Oh, you remember that? Yeah. You remember the little, there was a little saying when you were a kid.
Step in a crack, break your mama's back or something like that.
So, I remember doing that. My mom put in, those were my dad's. Sorry. Oh, but my mom didn't, Mom, don't tell me that you never enforced them. Come on. Walking under a ladder. That was another one that was supposed to be like bad luck and, superstitions and all that kind of stuff. So there's plenty of them. But Friday the 13th, to me, like I said, when I think of Friday the 13th, I was just thinking of movies.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like all the horror movies come out, you have some of this, like, they'll play scary, like spooky songs and stuff like that on the radio and, just silly things, stuff like that. So Friday the 13th, really not a big, to me, it's more fun, than anything else. So part of a Feel Good Friday, the 13th show today. All right, Ty, part of our Billy Merritt, the crew. He's representing the crew. Ty, working hard for us here at Billy Merritt Marketing. But and then by the way, we want to thank all of our guys. I actually sent out a message. We have in our little group chat. And I actually sent out a message earlier this week to all of our ninjas that work here at Billy Merritt Marketing about what a great job, they've been doing. I wanted to thank them for their hard work. They've really done a great job, and we've gone through a little bit of changes. You're always trying to strive to get better and, and improve. And, you never want to get stale and just be complacent and, get comfortable. So we're constantly, kind of changing and going along with the flow. Let's face it, with COVID, everybody had to change, some way, shape or form. But we just, again, we continuously improve our process. And they've gone through a lot of ups and a lot of downs and all this kind of stuff with their personal lives and with their professional lives, like everybody. But they've all handled it really well. And the one thing that I wanted to stress to them is that I appreciated their communication, covering each other's backs, lifting each other up when somebody's down, you lift them up, covering for people, and just working as a team. So, that really is a big thing. Again, I'm a huge sports fan. So, obviously I'm a big team, sports team guy, but that stuff happens. You're like it or not, most, I say most because some of them aren't, but most families, they really, it's like, it's teamwork. Parents taking their kids to school, picking them up, helping them with homework. That's part of a team. Even though you love the person and, it may be a parental responsibility or expectation, if you will, but don't you think so? Don't you think that's kind of the teamwork, kind of, it goes into all fields and aspects of life?
I think so. I guess I'm a bit weird on this because I do like working on a lot weird.
Imagine that.
I like working on a lot of projects alone, but even when I'm working on the music and stuff, I got to admit, like just having someone there to bounce ideas off of makes the process so much faster. Just that alone. Like, they hardly even have to be helping. Just the presence of another person within the project makes it go smoother, in my opinion.
So basically what Smith is saying is just, have somebody come in and adore his work. That's all. Just leave him the hell alone, sit in the room and just sit there in awe. That's what Smith wants. He just wants somebody in the room to go, we're not worthy.
Oh gosh.
No, I'm kidding. Well, I'm glad you at least mentioned. I mean, you didn't really support my theory, but at least you mentioned another individual. I thought you were going to go the complete other direction and be like, no, I hate everybody.
No.
Smith is a bit of a loner, if you will,
Well,
or
I'm
independent thinker for sure.
I'm also like hyper self-critical when I'm working on stuff. To have someone there who has an opinion other than my own, whether they're saying that it's good or it's bad.
Mhm.
A lot of times, I mean, the helpful thing is to say, hey, that's fine. Let's move on to the next thing. Because I will sit there and just overwork a single section of something for hours at a time and look down at the clock and be like, I have accomplished almost nothing.
Yeah, and I'm the one in the call center here at Billy Merritt Marketing. I'm the one that gets ridiculed about being a perfectionist and all this kind of stuff. Smith, he's the one. He's the guy. He's the one that you should really be picking on, and complaining about and making fun of and all that kind of stuff.
I deserve it. Shame me until I change.
Hey, let's slide right into this. Is very cool too. Now, even though it's Friday the 13th, when you think of Friday the 13th, don't you typically think of like Halloween and the scary stuff?
Yeah, I think of the old like B horror movies.
Right.
Sure.
So that's what I know we have more than one Friday the 13th, but that's always what I think about. I think of, horror movies and stuff like that. So then when you think of horror movies, you typically think of a certain time of year, you know, Halloween, and that kind of, that spooky, dark, that kind of stuff kind of goes along. When is Halloween? I'm getting somewhere. Promise me. I promise you, I'm getting somewhere. When is Halloween? What month is Halloween in?
October.
It's October. And even though it's August the 13th, holy cow. Oktoberfest from Sam Adams is out. It's on shelves. I was so excited to find this the other day. August, they bring out the Christmas decorations now, like in the summer, like at stores, they start putting out Christmas junk and, all that kind of stuff. And I've always said, I'm like, it's a bit early, isn't it? They're always pushing it. It seems like it gets earlier and earlier.
Yes.
It's like I'm expecting, when you go to see Easter stuff, I'm expecting to pretty soon see Christmas trees at Easter, or maybe they're just going to have like every store is going to have a Christmas section year round. Maybe that's the key. I don't know what it is, but I'm not really a big fan. I'm not anti-Christmas. I just don't want Christmas in July or in the summer. I don't like, summertime Christmas. So they kind of pushed that early, but I was so excited when they released Sam Adams Oktoberfest, because usually, even though it is called Oktoberfest, usually it's released. Like by the time I find it, it's usually probably like the middle of September, maybe even, last week of September, something like that. And of course they'll sell it, probably through the rest of the year, pretty close to, the end of the year. They might pull it, middle of December. You might be able to find some in certain stores, stuff like that. But this is one of my absolute all-time favorite beers. Oktoberfest from Sam Adams. And it is it's 5.3% alcohol. But a lot of people think when they think of darker beers or heavier beers, they think of dark beers. So when they think of heavier beers, they think of dark beers. And even though you can't see it because it's in the bottle, but this is kind of a reddish. It's not dark. It's not dark at all. It's kind of a reddish color, rather than like the yellow. When you pour like a Budweiser or domestic beer, you pour it in a glass, you see it, and it's it's like yellow. It's kind of a light yellow. Where this has almost a little bit of a reddish, brown tint to it. So it's not, but like you can see through it. So it's not like super dark, but it's kind of has a, as they describe it on the label, hearty and smooth. So I know that's kind of, doesn't that seem like it's kind of a contradictory statement? Hearty and smooth. Doesn't that feel like, kind of like it's a little bit off?
A little bit.
Because when I think of hearty, then I think, okay, it's going to be, bold.
Yeah, like bold and full.
Yeah, and so, but at the same time, when I drink it, then I'm kind of going, it is kind of hearty and smooth. It is kind of, because it actually is. It's a very smooth beer. And something about Sam Adams and other microbreweries that come out is, even though Sam Adams is, they're a bigger label now, and that, people know them and stuff like that. But they actually, this is they make this seasonally, and it's different every single year because the hops are different. So they go and they find these specific certain hops and things like that. So even though you might be using the same recipe, it's kind of like Smith, and I'm sure you've done this. you'll make a recipe and won't it taste different? Like you'll use the exact same recipe and it'll taste different sometimes, won't it?
Yeah, for sure.
That really supported me. Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Well, I'm thinking especially like the herbs you use, like you're not always going to get the same bottle of basil.
Perfect. I mean, yeah, that's I was just going to say, I was going to use like peppers or onions or things like that you use in recipes. Sometimes you have a little bit, some onions are a little bit more, robust and pungent, they're a little stronger, and then same way with peppers, if you eat hot peppers, and I'm not talking about, scrape the paint off the wall pepper, just like a regular, green pepper or maybe even jalapeno pepper, it might be a little bit more, if it's a green pepper, it might be a little bit more bitter. If it's a jalapeno pepper, it might be hotter. This one might be hotter than this one. You buy them, exactly the same place in the store, but they're different. So with beer, with the Sam Adams seasonals, again, the hops are different. So they actually do taste different. But I will give a shout out to my son, Jack Steven, because I've done this now, I don't know, probably at least the last 10 years. At least the last 10 years I've said this. Every time I see him and I find Oktoberfest. So if I go to visit him down in Florida and, we'll go, I'll stop, I'll pick up beer. And if I find this, then I'll come back. And I'll open the first one up, in front of him. I'm like, oh, it's really good this year. I say that every time. And so he always makes fun of me because I'll always say, oh, it's really good this year. And he goes, you say that every year. And I do. So I'll admit it. I say that every year. So cheers to Oktoberfest in August, because let me tell you what, it's really good this year.
I would make fun of you too.
But it really is. It's like I said, it's one of my absolute favorite ones. So try it out. Oktoberfest. I'm sure that I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure they're going to have they have like the seasonal pack, for the fall. It's not out yet, but I'm sure that Oktoberfest will be included in that too, if you want to try that. By the way, are you, with the fall, and again, I'm pushing it. I realize it's still August, so it's really still summer. I mean, it's like 90 degrees
hot
here. Yeah, it's super hot. But are you one of like the pumpkin spice, got fans? Like, do you like the pumpkin spice stuff that comes out?
I think pretty much near about every year I try it like once and I'm like, it's all right. And then I just go back to normal.
Smith is only passionate about like two things: anime and energy drinks or something like that. I mean, that's about it. No, three things, and music. He is passionate about his music.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. That's pretty accurate.
Well, I mean, like, because when I was younger, I don't know. I really don't know when. Maybe there's some research out there somewhere, but I don't know when like pumpkin spice kind of took over, like became a thing. Because I don't really remember pumpkin spice being a thing like when I was a kid. And in fact, I really don't recall it being a thing when I was a young adult. So I don't really know when pumpkin spice kind of became this, this trendy kind of a thing. But I mean, I love pumpkin pie. Love it. It's one of my absolute favorites when it comes to desserts. I love pumpkin pie. And I like my mom makes a delicious spice cake, which is kind of an odd thing, but it's actually really good. So, I mean, I like pumpkin and I like, spice, that kind of stuff. And I like the mixture, but I'm not a fan of like all this kind of craziness that comes out. So what do you got there? I know Smith is over there. He's typing. I'm talking. He's typing in the background. So what do you got there? You found something. You discovered something.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting. This says the divergence probably came when spice companies like McCormick started bundling common spices used in pumpkin pie as pumpkin pie spice in the 1950s and then simply as pumpkin spice in the 1960s. For people too lazy to measure out their own cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, allspice, and sulfiting agents. And it goes on and on.
I mean, I get it. Pumpkin spice, like McCormick, that's a spice company. It's a common spice company. I get it that they came out with something called pumpkin spice for pumpkin pie. But like, when did pumpkin spice,
You're talking about like the pumpkin spice latte trend.
Yes. Yeah. Like, when did it become like, trendy? That's the perfect word. So thanks for, finishing the sentence there, Smith. When did it become trendy? The pumpkin spice trend or whatever. Can you find that out?
Apparently, it was first launched by Starbucks in 2003.
Okay, that's about right. I mean, that seems about right. Because I said, like in my early 20s, I don't recall pumpkin spice being a thing, but I wouldn't really put together when. So I would have been in my 30s, in 2000 and what'd you say, 3?
Yes, 2003. Apparently, it was first in Vancouver, Washington, D.C., and this down here says something about British Columbia in Canada.
Okay.
So, yeah, 2003, and they were just testing it out in a couple of different areas.
Okay, because like now, I mean, literally, like there's so many different things that are pumpkin spice flavor. I mean, again, they make. I mean, this is Oktoberfest, but Sam Adams actually makes a pumpkin spice beer or pumpkin beer. They don't call it pumpkin spice, but it's a pumpkin ale. What they call it. So a lot of beer companies, started making pumpkin stuff. Of course, there's lots of cookies and desserts, that have the pumpkin spice, which kind of makes sense. But then, like, I like the coffee. I don't know. I can't. I don't know. I'm not a big fan. I'm like you. They'll sucker me into it once a year. Let me try that. Let me try that.
Yeah.
And unlike Oktoberfest, where I say, "Oh, this is really good this year," the pumpkin spice coffee, I always kind of go, I shouldn't have got this. I shouldn't have got it. So I always kind of do that one purchase regret when it comes to the pumpkin spice stuff. So I'm just not a huge fan. Hey, going backwards just a little bit, when I was talking about the Field of Dreams game with the Yankees and the White Sox, Anthony Rizzo, who was like my favorite player on the Cubs, remember I had a big temper tantrum a couple weeks ago and whined and cried and bitched and moaned and about them getting rid of him. Well, he got traded to the Yankees. Okay, which I said, weeks ago, I never could stand the Yankees. So I was kind of irritated that I was very irritated that he got traded, but then I was even more irritated that he got traded to the Yankees. However, there was a tiny little bright side, teeny. I was like, oh, well, that'll be cool because that means Anthony Rizzo gets to play in the Field of Dreams game, right? So I was like, okay. So I'm watching the game, I turn the game on. I'm like, all right, that's cool. And well, I'm looking and I don't see Anthony Rizzo. And I'm like, whoa, what is it? What's going on? Where's he at? Where's he at? Because they lined him up on the sidelines and all this kind of stuff. And so I checked the starting lineup. He's not in the starting lineup. And I'm like, really? They're not going to play him? I mean, they're not going to start him? I'm like, oh, he must be the designated hitter or something like that. So kind of just sitting there. And then they mentioned it in the broadcast. He's out with COVID. Oh, man. So I was just like, wow. They just keeps piling on with the Anthony Rizzo dilemma or drama or whatever you want to call it with me. Maybe one day I'll let it go, but not today. It's not. No, I'm not today, Smith. Not today. It's Friday the 13th. I'm not letting it go. Hey, something else that's today. I don't know who comes up with these either. This is just kind of another one of these silly, goofy kind of trends. Today's National Left-Handers Day.
Left-Handers Day.
Hey, were you aware of that?
I was not.
Yeah, like no big party or anything.
I don't know any of these. These niche holidays. I don't even know most of the regular ones.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm like, I don't even know who comes up with these. I mean, I think we should just start one. It should be like, today's National Paul and Smith Day.
All right.
I was thinking like make up your own date,
National Spaghetti Monster Day.
I mean, there's just so many oddball, weird ones. But so it's National Left-Handers Day. Yes, I am left-handed. Left-handed power. What do you know? Some of the
I did see on Instagram. I think like 3 or 4 days ago there was like National Girlfriend Day or something like that. Like the most random thing.
Yeah, definitely a girl came up with that. Come on, you know that. A girl came up with that. A woman came up with that. Another day they have to buy us a gift. That's what she was thinking. They were. But left-handed. Do you have any? Have you heard of any like stereotypes or any common things like people that are left-handed are more or less this or that? Whatever. Have you heard of any of those?
I think I've heard people say that people who are more left-handed are more like right side of the brain type thinkers, like more creative.
Yep. Yeah, more creative. That's the one I've always heard my whole life. Like, oh, so you're more creative, and of course I'll take it and run with it. Like, that's right. I am. My gosh, I am. I'm more creative. But there's a few other ones that I'm not so sure. I've also heard that left-handed people are better with money. I can't prove that one. I don't know how anybody can.
Their wallet on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, like, left-handed people are, they're more frugal or they're better with their money or something. I don't know, but I'm like, I don't really understand. Again, who comes up with these, or whatever the deal is on that. But one thing I can tell you for a fact, this is not a theory at all. Something that left-handed people, that's something that applies to left-handed people. When I was a kid, and I'm sure every left-handed person when they were a kid, before keyboards came out and kids did homework on a keyboard, you actually wrote. All right. When you actually wrote your homework out, stuff like that. When you use the number 2 lead pencil, you'd have this mark on your hand right here, because when you write this way.
Oh, right, right.
So when you're writing out, of course, your hand drags the lead, and then when you got a little bit older and they let you start to use a pen, then your pen, and it'd smear the ink sometimes, and you get the blue, if you were using a blue pen, or you get the black pen, or maybe you're getting the red pen, you're getting all creative with your left-handed self. And you have the red mark on your hand. But I would walk, my entire years of school, I had crap on my pinky. I had some kind of ink or something on my pinky that it was always there. It came off, but you just got, you stopped thinking about it sometimes. And I do remember, I'm going to call her out. My freshman year English teacher, Mrs. McGrath was her name. Now, I did really well in English. It was always, it always came pretty easily to me. So it was never really a struggle for me to take English. I always get pretty good grades in English. Math, a whole different thing. But English, I was always pretty strong in. So Mrs. McGrath, my freshman year teacher, we had to do, it was some kind of report or essay or something like that, but it was 2 pages. I remember that. It was 2 pages, but it was timed. Like you had to do it in class. Okay. So it wasn't like a homework thing. You had to do it in class. So it was timed. So, I'm feeling a little bit of pressure. It's like, it's timed. You got to write all this stuff out, so, I'm getting a little, hands are getting a little sweaty, and, I'm getting a little nervous, and, all this kind of stuff. And I'm trying to write fast and all this kind of thing. So I realized, and this is ink now, it's ink. So every time that I would come back to the left side of the page, to start a new line, it was like a stamp. It was like I had this imprint of ink, like a stamp all the way down the left-hand side of the paper. And then, I don't know, probably 15 or 20 times in 2 sheets of paper, there were all these smears and, and all this kind of stuff. So when I turned it in, she goes, well, you got an A as far as for content, you know what you're talking about. So you get an A for that. And yes, your grammar and your punctuation and all kind of stuff, you did this and that, so you do really well. So you get, high marks for that. But you're going to get a B because your paper's sloppy. Now, tell me something. Is that even fair? Really, is that even fair?
I'm going to make a bad joke I've been thinking about this entire time. Mrs. McGrath, or like Mrs. McGrath.
Oh, there it is. But it'll be here all week. Don't forget to tip your waitresses.
No, that's horrible. You would.
Yeah, so I actually got, it wasn't like I got an F, I didn't fail or anything like that, but so she gave me a B. I was just kind of irritated. I'm like, that's bull. That's a left-handed, problem. Of course, like nowadays, I'd sue the school and, it'd be a whole thing.
I should have been provided with gloves and a nicer pen.
That's right. It's like, oh, I'm being discriminated against as a left-handed challenged person. But all that kind of crap. But I just rolled with it. I complained, so I told her it wasn't fair. Probably more like, that's not fair. It's probably something like that. When I was 14. But that's not fair. So, and then you take the B and you walk away. But Mrs. McGrath, I still loved her as a teacher though. But yeah, she gave me that B for my sloppiness on my paper. Ryan Hanna, you just said that's a disability. See, that's what I'm talking about. And Ryan just chimed in. Good morning, Ryan. It is left-handed. It is a disability. In a lot of different ways. Not maybe a disability that may be a little powerful, a little overpowering perhaps, but it's certainly a challenge because they make everything for right. If you're a left-handed person, you ever tried to use scissors when you were a kid? I know you're not left-handed, but I'm telling you, because they make scissors for right-handed kids.
Oh yeah.
So when you're a left-handed, you're like, they're all backwards and it's hard, this kind of stuff. And speaking of backwards, by the way, I'm definitely not like the majority of left-handed people. I don't write, like this. I'm not all twisted up and, and cocked this way. And, and like I'm going to break my wrist if I actually write on a piece of paper. I write like a right-handed person. Right-handed person writes like this, right? So I'll watch, they write like this. So guess what? I'm a left-handed person and I write like this. It's the same. I have the exact same angle. It's just on the other arm. So it's not, one of those twisted, quirky, kind of weird things. In fact, I think I was in third or fourth grade. There was a girl in my class. She was left-handed. Her name was Jay Hart. Okay, that was her name, J-A-Y. Jay Hart. She was in my class when I was in it was third or fourth grade. I can't remember which grade it was. But she was left-handed and she could not write to save her life. I mean, she would crank her arm and twist it. And so my teacher actually asked me if I would teach her how to write because I was left-handed, and I could write, like a quote unquote normal person. Not that left-handed people are not normal. All right, because again, I don't want any bashing. But Ryan, by the way, just chimed in again. Now, thanks for all those great gel pens at work. I would get these. I would get those gel pens. I'm like, anybody want this? I can't use these. I would constantly be giving them away because they would always smear on me really, really bad. But Jay Hart, I don't know where she is today, but if she can write, it's because of me. So I'll take full credit. No, I actually did though. It was kind of funny. I worked with her for like 2 or 3 weeks and finally got her to where she could write, without cranking her arm and, looking kind of ridiculous and all that type of thing. So, all right. So let's move on. We've got the classic rock revisit. This one is absolutely perfect for Friday the 13th. I mean, I absolutely chose this because of Friday the 13th. Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, as they like refer to him as. He came out in 1983. He had the album Bark at the Moon. And Smith, I'm assuming you've never even heard of this album.
I've heard of this album.
Have you heard of it? Okay.
I'm trying to remember which singles were on it.
Bark at the Moon, the title of the album, the single Bark at the Moon, they released the title track. So that was probably the most well-known, off the album. It was the biggest hit, if you will. But it also had kind of a slower tune, especially for Ozzy, who later on in his career, he started to make a lot more slower stuff. Not, he didn't become like a ballad king or anything like that, but he started, playing some more softer, slower things like that. But there's a song in there called So Tired. And it's a great song. I mean, you'll love the music in it too, Smith. But one of the things that a lot of the Ozzy purists, because of course he was in Black Sabbath, if you weren't aware of that. And Black Sabbath was a much more dominant, like heavy metal, just very full head on heavy metal. And when Ozzy broke off and started doing his own thing, his first couple albums actually, were very similar. People are like, oh, well, if you like, Black Sabbath, of course you're going to like Ozzy. It's the same singer. He's going to sound the same. The guitarists, they're playing just like the musicians in Black Sabbath. Well, when Bark of the Moon came out in 1983, he went a little bit more synthesizer and got a little more poppy, if you will. And so again, the purists, the Black Sabbath purists they were not happy. They were not happy at all. But me, on the other hand, I would have been 16 in 1983. And I love the album. But that was, the 80s. There was a lot of pop metal. I mean, there was heavy metal too, but there was a lot of pop metal that I really liked. And so this one definitely categorizes in the pop metal, most likely. But there's a couple tunes on there. You're No Different to Me. That's a great song, in my opinion. And then one of my all-time favorites on the record, or the album, or whatever you want to call it. I'm always going to say record. I always say that. Is Rock and Roll Rebel. That is a cool tune. It was never released as a single, but that was my favorite song off the record. So Rock and Roll Rebel from Ozzy Osbourne. Check that out. 1983, Bark at the Moon album. And you can see, if you can see it, whoops, I got to figure out where I'm at again. If you can see the album right there, he's got that kind of creature, he's got a bunch of makeup on and he's, he got a bodysuit, but he's supposed to be, this, I don't know what he's supposed to be.
He looks like he's about to transform into the Wolf Man.
Yeah. That's, it kind of looks like a dog. Because he has like a bodysuit on, a fur and stuff. So he kind of has that, like you said, the Wolf Man kind of a deal. The video Bark of the Moon. When it came out, that was when there was the whole backlash of heavy metal music and all that kind of stuff. That's, you're messing with teenagers' minds and they're they're going to kill people and, they're going to lose their minds because of rock and roll, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And so when it came out, the video with Ozzy wearing, because he actually wore, I gotta do that again. He actually wore that suit or whatever in the video. So they said it was kind of, oh, it was scary, and it was devil worshiping, and blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. And if you look at it now, if Smith, I'm telling you, if you pull up Bark of the Moon, it's laughable. I mean, it's just, it's really funny. I mean, because it's so silly. The effects, of course, are not good. There's 1983. So
it's also very tame compared to a lot of what we have now.
That's what I mean. So it's pretty laughable now that they thought it was just so out of control and dark and blah 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 and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to sit here and say that there's not some music out there that's pretty.
I was going to say, like, I mean, if you really want to see the stuff that's categorized like that, go look at Dimmu Borgir or Belphegor or something like that. Now that is some freaky stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's some dark, there's some dark stuff. It's just like, if you're going to judge people like that, though, then you would have to say that there's certain movies that are too dark. There's certain books, certain books that, some people think Stephen King books are too dark. He's just a popular one that everybody knows, but there's a lot of authors that wrote some really twisted stuff, that people would say, oh my gosh, he's got a mental problem. And that doesn't mean, if you write something like that, it doesn't mean you have a mental problem. It means you might be left-handed. You're creative. That's what that means, pretty much. So Smith, I'll let you have the floor, for just a minute. And he loves us when I do this because I never give him like a clue.
Know when it's coming.
I always just kind of put him on the spot. So okay. I do this once in a while. I've done it to you before, but it's been quite a while. I think it was last year. Was the last time I've done this. So without any, don't overthink it. And I know it's going to be something oddball and weird that I don't know, but what is a classic album? Okay. And then, again, this is your perception of classic. All right. What is a classic album in your mind?
Classic album in my mind. I think last time I said Reckless by Bryan Adams, funny enough. This time let's go with what was it? Slippery When Wet by
Bon Jovi. Yeah. Oh, so you went mainstream. Hey, all right.
I love Bon Jovi.
Let's hear it for Smith going all mainstream. He didn't give me some, twisted, dark, unbelievable Japanese anime soundtrack band or something.
The OST to Cowboy Bebop by Yoko Kanno.
That's the one I was looking for. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's my jam. Crank it.
It's good stuff.
In the words of Ryan Hanna, that's a banger.
Oh, yeah. Let's check out Tank. That's the one.
By the way, my sister Janet, she messaged it in. Remember when one of our sisters thought that Bart Simpson was horrible? That would be my sister Barbara. Barb, when she had little kids, she thought that, because Bart Simpson was pretty, he was obnoxious and don't have a cow, man. I remember when that was like, oh, the kids telling the parents don't have a cow, man. And that was like this bad thing. But yeah, that's how things have kind of gone and doing all that kind of stuff. So Robert Brooker, good morning to Paul and Smith and Candace. I was deep in chatting with a lovely lady and time stood still. Robert Brooker, are you left-handed? Just curious.
Joke for this show.
I mean, that's pretty creative and Japanese pops. Robert's he's very knowledgeable. He became a big fan of Aiko. Is that Aiko or Aiko?
Aiko. I'm not sure about Aiko. I listened to Yoko
Ono.
Yoko Kanno. Is it Yoko?
Bless you.
Quickly becoming.
Hey, look at there, Robert Brooker. He's left-handed, so there you go.
Hey, it all makes sense.
By the way, Billy Merritt is left-handed too, and so I do want to bring this up before we wrap up the show here. Billy Merritt Marketing. We can help you sell more cars if you're a car dealership. We handle Facebook marketing. We have DigiNinja. It's a very unique program. We can tell you more about it, how we can help you sell more cars. And by the way, if you're wondering if you're a car dealership, this has been kind of a trend pretty much all summer long. The inventory issue. It's like, oh, we're having a hard time getting inventory, because of COVID. At least that's what I was told. Because of COVID, the little chips that are in all the new cars, they kind of got delayed. And so, the manufacturing got kind of slowed down. And so there's a multitude of things that were some issues about finding about finding inventory and having trouble having vehicles on the lot, all that type of stuff. Well, one thing that we can do is that we can actually help you increase your inventory. Okay. So if you're wondering how we can do that, give us a call. Because we can help you with that too. We can help you increase your inventory. We can help you sell cars. So that's what we do. Just part of what we do. Billy Merritt Marketing. You can go to billymerritt.com and you can find out more information. Of course, we're online. I'm not going to, make Smith rattle off 11 different platforms that we're on. You can search for Billy Merritt or Billy W. Merritt on a bunch of different platforms. All the good ones, right?
All the good ones.
All the good ones, a couple of weird ones because Smith's a weird guy. Robert Brooker, by the way, did say that ICO, that I did pronounce it correctly. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's because I'm left-handed, and there you go.
Also, just because I forgot to answer his question, Japanese pop. It's more like Japanese theatrical music for anime OSTs. Like she also done the OST for Garden of Sinners. So some weird ones, like some old weird anime.
All right, give me, what is OST?
Original soundtrack.
Okay. So, for all the old people like me that don't know what OST means. I've been called OG before, but never, so I didn't know if that was OST, if that was a compliment or, a put down. I don't know what that was. I don't know what that was. OST.
No, anytime you see that, that's the original soundtrack. OP is opening. ED is ending.
ED is something else.
I don't want to know.
There you go. When you get a little older, you'll know about that. So, I'm just saying. It's a common thing, but in other words, it's time to wrap up the show is what we're trying to say before we get off on a whole nother tangent. Yeah. Cause I got some work to do. And look at there, I didn't even finish my beer. I'm savoring it. You know why? Cause it's really good this year. Sam Adams Oktoberfest. Go check it out. Check out Ozzy Osbourne's Bark of the Moon album from 1983 as a classic rock revisit. Really good stuff. By the way, next Friday, I'll be here for the show. I'll be here for the show next Friday. So we will see you next Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. Central. In the meantime, if you're going to be drinking this weekend or anytime, make sure that you always have a designated driver and